Hello people, how's it going? Scotty. So I don't know if you've seen the recent Andrew Marr show where he had Sir Richard Branson on.
Last week, a number of business leaders wrote to the Times to argue that Britain is stronger in Europe. Among them was Sir Richard Branson, founder, of course, of the Virgin Group. He told me why he thinks it would be madness to leave the EU.
I felt that there wasn't really much critique, there wasn't really a challenge, there was no challenging questions towards Richard Branson.
For most of my adult lifetime, you have been the face of the Virgin Group of companies. You've done a great job in selling your companies. Do you think you can do the same kind of thing to sell Europe to people?
If that was Nigel Farage that was in that position, he'd be getting asked all sorts of challenging questions, and that wasn't the case in that interview. So I'm a great admirer of Sir Richard Branson. Obviously he's someone who has a self-interest, a vested business self-interest, and that's why he supports the European Union. It's one of these things, you know, that Sir Richard Branson's going to come out in support of the European Union. A lot of big businesses are, and that seems to be the problem today. It's this thing where they're opposed to the free market. It seems because of the fact that a free market would be extremely competitive, and it seems these big businesses don't like that competition. They don't like that competition, and this is why they prefer the big government. And this is exactly what the European Union is. It's this, you know, big government, and in the interests of these big businesses, it favours them, where it weighs down the little man, so that the competition isn't there to compete against them. But for the average person, for all those who are small business owners, etc., it's not a benefit to, you know, these type of people. And that's, for me personally, what I took from the whole interview with Richard Branson. He's got a vested business interest in the European Union, and obviously that's why he's supporting it.
I had a record company. If I wanted to export my music into Europe, I paid 35% tax. If I wanted to import music from Europe, I paid 35% tax. If I wanted to set up an office in Europe, it was extremely difficult. If I wanted to put people from the UK into Europe to work in my office, it was extremely difficult. You know, there just wasn't this sort of the wonderful situation we have at the moment, where there's this enormous trading bloc. You can treat it just as if it's the UK, trade anywhere within Europe. So how anybody would want to go back to the days where all these barriers were put up, I just find it inconceivable.
So as we heard about the 35% tax rate in terms of trading with the European Union, the whole thing is the fact that you have to take into consideration, if Britain pulled out of the European Union and it pushed towards a free market, and Britain abolished the inheritance tax, abolished the income tax rates, you wouldn't be paying all this high taxation. You
know, if we go back to being, you know, Great Britain again, we will have our hands tied behind our back, and I think Europeans will rightfully punish us again. We'll be back to where we were 50 years ago.
He doesn't touch upon, for me, the fact that when we pull out of the European Union, we would have a wider range of trade. We would be able to trade with the rest of the world. Right now, we are prohibited from trading with the rest of the world. We're prohibited from trading with the countries such as Australia, New Zealand, India, all our Commonwealth countries, Canada, etc., and the rest of the world. And that's something that Britain is restricted from whilst being a part of the European Union. No one says that if we pull out of the European Union that we're going to stop trade, and I think that's one of the most important points. It doesn't take into account that the European Union has over-regulated the economy, and of course has, you know, weighed down the competition and wiped out the smaller businesses. I mean, you know, it's one of these things that, you know, in a free market, through free trade, you would have fast trade across the world. It's not like it's going to be the end of the world. The European Union is not Europe. So anyway, thank you for watching my video, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, cheers. So aye folks, like I say, I'm working hard on my videos and that. You know, if you like my video, feel free to like the video below, share the video, subscribe, and of course you can check out my other videos. I've done one of course in the top 10 of Nazi Germany. If you haven't seen it, that's actually quite controversial, as I say. And of course my other video as well you can check out, which is on the Confederate flag. Now of course that sparked a bit of controversy, so you know, 2 controversial videos you can go and check out for yourself, you know. Right, I'll talk to you later. Thank you for watching. Cheers.